Hello, my friends. Welcome to the final virtual tour performance for Happy Place. My name is Joey Policina, and tonight I'm going to share with you some poems that make art of grief and depression. Now, I have lost people, safety, successes, so I know grief, as you'll learn tonight. But I also manage some depression as well. So I hope that at least through this poetry tonight, maybe you'll feel some solidarity. Maybe it'll help you get back to the light in your dark moments. So I will go ahead and discuss the poems quickly and then I'll read them for you. The way that I know that you're here with me tonight is if you say hello in the chat. So in YouTube Live or Facebook Live, go ahead and say hello in the chats and I'll be able to see you in my chat panel. You can provide any kind of feedback, ask questions, whatever you need to do in that chat. And even if I don't see it during the performance, I promise I'll go back afterward and I will reply to everybody. I really appreciate any of the feedback you guys have for me throughout the performances. And as I said, this is the 4th virtual tour performance. Hello, Laura. It's so nice to see you here. And I have recordings of all of the previous performances. If you'd like to see those, if you missed one, they're all on different themes. I will show you where to get to that. You can, on the Happy Place page, you can get to all the recordings, but I'll provide a little QR code that you can scan at the end and get right to the page. Hello, Linus. Thanks for coming and celebrating with me tonight. All right, let's get started. Let's go get low. The first poem is called The Low, and this one is specifically about the trenches of depression. It's that weight, and if you've ever felt it, you'll be able to relate. The Low. It's 3 taps of the snooze button, stark, awake in the dark, and then asleep again, then awakening, lingering, then choosing the dream one more time, please. And awake, numb in her own unmoving body heat, now late with nothing to dress up in, no feigning the persona she promised would mind the brightening line of sky, who she vowed would get up and smile, just get on with the day. She tries and then closes her eyes. Not today. A few years ago, a couple years ago actually, I did not get a promotion that I had been working toward for many years. And so, of course, it was really disappointing. And even though I realized in the moment that it was, completely out of my control, I did the best that I could do. So there wasn't much more that could be done about it. It was just something that was. It is what it is was me just coming to terms and, just getting over it, basically. It is what it is. Hi, Megan. It's so nice to see you. Sorry, it is what it is. It is what it is means that it is not at the ends of my reins, so there's no reason to waste emotion on it. I'm sad as fuck anyway, all stuffed up and raining all over this might have been. It is empty space. It is, fell right on my face. It is the disappointment I painted like a mustache on family portraits feigning the stairway. It is history we cannot change, the stories we are buried in. It rapes our Crayola gardens. It breaks and makes shards of all the things we watered beneath our rainbows. We had places to go. It hates me though. It is a fate. It knows. It is what it is. And I am all emotion. I'm gonna cry for a minute and then I'll get over it. When I was 14, I moved to Florida. And if you guys came to the virtual release party, you got to hear a little bit of this story as well. But, I was 14 and I was from Pittsburgh, down a mile away from the beach for the first time ever. And I spent quite a bit of time there. And this one day early on, when I was with some friends and we were about, rib high in the water, just jumping waves and having a good time, I jumped a wave. And as I was coming down, another wave came in and kind of knocked me under. And every time I tried to go up for air, there was another wave just spinning me around and around. I thought I was going to die. But then all of a sudden I just stood up. I was at the shallow end. I was on the beach and just so grateful that the current took me to the beach and not out into the ocean. I did learn a nice respect for the ocean that day, absolutely. But the whole experience, it was very familiar to me as an adult when I go through my depressive episodes. It often feels like that, just kind of comes in at a moment, picks me up, shakes me, and then, when it's so unbearable, all of a sudden it's just done. It's over with. And I go on with my life, until the next big wave comes in. So Shark in the Shallows is just all about that experience with depression. Shark in the Shallows. You splash your foam over my shiny pebble beach and make warm toes sink in the cloudy surf, twist in the seaweed. You make grains of homes and mountains, melt castles into their moats as you recede. I am the specks of rounded glass you pull by the ankle and splash through gasps, trapped and tossed from barrel to undertow. Drag my bones a few feet deep, crack my flesh on the coral, shake me between your teeth, and then let go. Set me ragged back on the blank canvas sand of my beach, like you never even wanted me. Thank you, Laura. Thank you. The world is a dark place sometimes with lots of lost people. And sometimes when you yourself are not feeling so chipper, looking out into the world reflects that for you. And so Wasteland is a quick piece that I wrote one down moment when I was basically reflecting on myself in the scope of society at large and all of the people out there. So Wasteland. The earth is already cracked, emptied through its drain, a cruddy landscape of rose and oak carcasses mangled in ash poses, last breaths of prayers to saviors by particles of dust unsaved. And so, for those of you who are new to my Joey poetry and was not around when I published my first book, All Shards and Paste, which this poem, What Was Him, is from, my biggest grief occurred on April 17th, 2004, when I lost my brother to the war in Iraq. And after he died, I don't know why my brain chose to deal with that grief the way it did, but basically what it did was take the date of his death, April 17th, 417, and it manifests it everywhere, every day, especially on the clock. I have looked at the clock every day at 417 since then, or at least it seems that way to me. But of course, I see that number in street address, on the gas pump, on grocery receipts. 417 pops out to me all the time, and so that's the main underlying theme in this poem. But it's basically just retracing our life together, and you'll see some photos, and I'm going to do my best not to cry on you, but no promises on this one, because once again, this is my deepest grief. What was him? Every day at 4:17, I remember what was him. We lay on the floor in front of the TV, eyes half closed, unblinking, while we mastered Dragon Warrior on the first Nintendo console, wrestling on Saturday mornings, covering holes in the wall with old hairband posters, throw down brawls in the living room when we were latchkey and free to become whatever the streets had in mind for our stories. I won't tell Mom if you won't. Every day at 4:17. I remember what was him, the only thing connected to me in the chaos we had no choice in, the distant lights like warp speed stars along the late night highway, our faces inches apart on the backseat heap of garbage bags of things we actually had to take with us. Whatever bed, whatever floor, whatever was next, together. We just had to keep moving forward until we found more, made things better than this. We'll be okay. Every day at 4:17. I remember what was him in the outfield on the opposing team, catching my fly at his backside, 4 dance steps smashing my pride, running away with other boys, quick evading me so they could sneak magazines. But he clapped the loudest when I hit the home run mark on the wall, came back and picked me up when I slipped on the gravel and fell trying to catch them all. And when the boys were gone, he showed me his collection of naked women. Just don't tell Mom. Every day at 4:17. I remember what was him on the other end of the phone waiting to leave, reminding me that he was him and there was no need for worrying, out of reach and not knowing if the news reports were about him or someone else's him. Then getting that call mid-morning and then watching the clock on the wall for weeks, waiting for my him returned in pieces, letting him bury some of our history, but keeping the rest with me. I won't let you go. Every day at 4:17. And I'll let you go ahead and look at that picture of him while I stop crying and take a drink of water. And for those of you who are curious, my brother was Staff Sergeant Edward W. Carmen, and he was a tank commander, and he died in that tank. So that was what was him. All right, Leech. So I know it doesn't seem like it at the moment, but these right now are the happiest days of my life. And as you can see, grief does not care. When you miss somebody, you just always miss them. It's always a part of you, even in the happy moments. Leech. Grief is a leech that never detaches its teeth. It just sips from everything. So making playlists to cope with loss is definitely a defense mechanism that I use, especially when I have lost people that I love. I create playlists and I listen to them on repeat and just sing the songs really hard and dance and just really feel it and process the grief. That's how I do it. But I call these death playlists. Death playlists. When you die, I will line up hours of songs that rerun our entire timeline from start to whole lives long. Pour myself 3 or 5 glasses of cheap wine and spin through the room Tasmanian style, shaking 2-fisted screams at you, trapped in pictures on the wall. Curse the holes you will never fill again. Pour another 1 or 3, fall to my knees, glass in air, cheers. Wish you were spilled here too. Oh, I'll chug and refill, restart the chain of melodies that pour out our memories and sing you until I either land where you are or faceplant asleep. At the root of all grief is love. You don't get to grieve something unless you first loved it. And so what's the alternative? You don't love, that's not a solution. But anyway, grieving is tribute to the love behind grief. And it's an appreciation to have loved something or someone so much that you grieve it so deeply. Grieving. It's a privilege to hurt this much, to feel this full body screaming numbness, this puncturing of flesh and reason and reality by blades forged of empty space and silence. This retracing our steps, rewatching the seasons like we went by in seconds, replaying the secrets that now only I am left to save. So I clean the cuts, redress and brace for the rest, the next wave of this pain. It's a privilege to hurt this way. So I know it's a common theme here that grief kind of sticks around, right? But for a long time, for many, many years, I kept, as the anniversary of my brother's death day approached, which, by the way, we are in that phase right now as we approach April here. I always say to myself that I'm fine this year. It's going to be great. I'm not going to cry. And it would get so disappointed because I would get to that day and it always affected me. You can see I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry again already. It has never stopped affecting me. And so I got to this point where I did accept it. So yes, it's a sad part of me, but this grief, which again was born out of the love that I had for my brother, is always going to be a part of me. And so no medication. It's just kind of a letter to all of the people who end up in my life and may end up loving me and needing to understand why sometimes I go to this grieving place. No medication. Sometimes I die inside because people I love are there. There's no solution, no medication to tighten tear ducts or lighten the aches, no erasers for the sharp lines and needle air, just a chair. Pull it up and sit there while I flood inside. Witness this piece of me that smiles and cries and smiles and dies, then turns blood to mud with lullabies and apologies for almost being good enough. The only remedy, the only way this ever flows is to let me rip the pages apart, play those songs on repeat, let me scream, let me dance, let me retreat to the dark silence of nothingness until the rapids slow and I float back to the surface. Last year, again, was year 19, and I sat down on that day and I wanted to write a tribute. I wanted to write a tribute and to the universe, to just say I still miss him and not gonna cry. So this is what happens, and then I get too emotional and I can't come up with the right way to say it. But grief night number 6,935 was all I could get out for the 19-year anniversary of my brother's death day. It is sulked in chapped cracks of empty lips. No word is word enough. So Residual is a poem from my first book. It's the only other one that I'm reading tonight from my first book, All Shards and Paste. And this one I'm including because it talks about how, that depression that becomes a little bit part of our personalities when you have childhood trauma or things that kind of caused, triggers and things like that in you. So Residual is about those stains on your personality, that depression, and how it's always kind of there in the cracks of everything that you do and the decisions that you make. Residual. Dust like mud in the crevices, staining the wall around frames. In them, we are frozen with a couple smiles that made me think we played the same thud against our rib cages. Now I see it's feigned. When I sang, you didn't pause for the tune, twist the keys, open your room. You hated my poems, never wanted to swing hips to my bass thump. Not one, never loved who I was. Since you are where I began, exactly who I am, I'll never trust anyone to stay. That's why I run away, hide the ashes. I crushed up those old photographs, stuffed their dust where boards meet, into corners and back of cabinets, into cracks under rugs, into the pores of porcelain tubs. Go on and scrub. It just turns to mud in the crevices, stains on the wall around frames. Thank you, Megan. She said, I like the rhythm at the end. Thank you so much. But you probably met the one before that. I'm probably a little delayed in getting your chat. But thank you. Okay, stupid repeat is about vicious cycles. So it's about seeing the sadness and trauma and knowing it's there, but still getting into it because it's what's familiar to you. It's what you know. It's so you go back into the cycle. Hi Lisa, how are you? Thanks for showing. Hello. So stupid repeat. You are my insanity, my stupid repeat that drizzles in and then thunders and sleets, freezes to crush just a few more pieces every time you always leave a bigger space in me that I insulate and rescreen and cement and paint and affix a twig from a dead tree like it's graffiti. So this is temporary. I didn't want it to all be like really down negative stuff. I do go to my dark places often, but this is all temporary, was a little piece that I wrote for myself to just remind myself that no matter what's happening out here or in here that is not in my control, the thing that is in my control is my purpose and my happiness. And sometimes I need to be reminded of that. So I actually wrote this piece just to help me through those moments. This is all temporary. Tomorrow is a purpose that exists only if you fight for it the whole dark through. Refuse to quit. Drag yourself to it because you have to. Thank you, Laura. She says, good title and good thing to keep remembering. It is. I'm telling you, this thing just, it keeps me in the light, keeps me in the light. And I hope that maybe it keeps some of you guys in the light as well. And I have a special treat. So for the last performance, I actually have a brand new poem that I've been tweaking this week. So I don't even know if this is going to be the final form of this poem, but I've never actually shared this publicly, a poem that is so new. But again, I'm approaching that 20-year anniversary coming up in April. So I've been processing grief again for myself, and I'm just really excited to have been able to express grief in this way, and I hope that it helps. I hope all of these poems, at least with solidarity, help people through their grief and depression and help them also come to light too. Definitely start writing poetry. If you have to process some of these things, it is great therapy. Smashed Potion. She pulls a handful of ash from her memory stash and fresh grave dirt from her purse, smashes them into a potion outside the open window where they compose their dreams and what ifs and star wishes. Steps they tangoed to whatever tempo clotheslined them over decades of radio. How they built castles out of sticks and stones. She presses the films into grainy acts, lines of dialogue, and squishes them to particles, all the flashbacks, empty scenes to space and watches as they float away. But all their songs splash all the walls and photographs, the shelves and artifacts she can't unknow. Tonight she catches breath, alone, wishing one more wish with one more smashed potion. And with that, I want to go ahead and open. It doesn't look like my browser window is open, refreshing in the chat. I can see it within my panel though. There we go. If anybody has any questions or requests, go ahead and just put it in the chat and I will answer it for you. If not, we'll go ahead and switch the end. I tell you what, guys, I am so excited to have gotten to this point. I appreciate every single one of you that showed up for my shows, that came out and listened to me and encouraged me, not just with the shows, but even just getting the book done. You know, my friends who encouraged me, Laura and Lisa and Megan, I know you guys are out there watching. Again, you are the best goddesses. I love you for all your support through this entire process. I'm so happy that you're here with me. And honestly, I can't thank you enough for all of your support so far, guys. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Laura. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the last slide then, because again, if you want to watch past recordings, so the recordings of past shows, go ahead and just scan this QR code with your smartphone camera. You can also get to it on the Happy Place page. I'll put the link in the chat for you one more time so you have it. And there, of course, you can read reviews, you can sample some more content, and of course, buy Happy Place in print, ebook, and audiobook formats. I did put the audiobook out there as well. If you have a library card, especially if you're part of CleveNet, you can read the ebook and listen to the audiobook through your local library, through the Libby app. Once again, guys, thank you so much. Let me go ahead and just wave to you. And thank you so much for stopping by, everybody. Look for some open mics coming up now that I know how to do these live shows. I'm going to try and do some open mics and some other themed performances where everybody can bring what they want to share as well. Because I tell you what, my throat is dry by the end of these performances. So it would be nice to kind of pass the mic and listen to some of your work as well coming up. All right, everyone, have a good night. Thank you so much once again for all your support, and go buy your copy of Happy Place. Thank you so much.